Welcome in our today's session, students. In today's session, we are specifically going to talk about the unit 4th in your paper first of BA part 2nd of poetry and drama. This is about the unit 4th, where it is divided into sections. In first section there is literary history, and in the other section there are literary terms like dramatic monologue, inscape, sprung rhythm, in stress, war poetry, blank verse, free verse, heroic couplet, conceit, etc. So in today's session we will talk about the literary term dramatic monologue. So there are several literary terms, and these are particularly prescribed in your course of BA part 2nd of paper first in unit 4th of this paper first. So today we will talk about dramatic monologue. So what is dramatic monologue? So I have given here a detailed description, or we can say short overview, or a short note on dramatic monologue, where you can easily understand about this particular term. Actually, this PDF I can also share with you. So here let's have So now let's start what it is all about, this particular term dramatic monologue. Actually, this dramatic monologue is basically half poem and half drama at the same time. How it can be? So first let's start this PDF. Dramatic monologue. Here, very first you must understand that dramatic here, it is particularly derived from the term drama actually, and which is something which is related to drama, and monologue means speech by one person, speech by a single person. So dramatic monologue refers to a type of poetry in English literature. These poems are dramatic in the sense that they have a theatrical quality. That is, the poem is meant to be read to an audience. So there will be audience in front of the speaker. Okay. To say that the poem is a monologue means that these are the words of a one solitary speaker with no dialogue coming from any other characters. So here there will be a speech of one single person. So and there are no other character. In a way, the characters, the presence of other characters may be there, but there is no dialogue from other side. Okay, so no dialogue coming from any other characters. It's a poem in which an imagined speaker addresses to a silent listener. So here we can find one side a speaker who addresses to somebody, and in front of him there is a silent listener who doesn't deliver any single sentence. Okay, so it's a poem in which there will be an imagined character, a speaker, who addresses to a silent listener, usually not the reader. Okay, for example, in Robert Browning's poem, we find this particular literary term dramatic monologue in ample amount. Okay, in ample amount of his poetry, like for example the poem My Last Duchess by Robert Browning. It's a very very well known and very popular example of dramatic monologue. And T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prophet is also a monologue. And So like this we can find so many examples. Here the poet who speaks in the voice of a character, or who himself maybe he himself is not that person who is delivering his speech. The poet is not the assumed character. So there is a single person, but not the poet, who utters the words presented in the entire poem and in a very specific situation. Or here the protagonist who addresses and interacts with the one or more persons, and the reader is aware of the presence of the audience and their reactions. Okay, the monologue is so organized that its focus is on the temperament and character that the dramatic speaker unintentionally reveals in the course of what he says. So, in other words, the dramatic monologue aims at the psychoanalysis of the protagonist. So, if we talk about M.S. Abraham's particular book, A Glossary of Literary Terms, where he notes the following three features of dramatic monologues. What are they? Number one, the single person who is apparently not the poet, who utters the speech that makes up the whole of the poem in a specific situation at a critical moment. Number two, the person addresses and interacts with one or more other people, but we know of the auditor's presence and what they say and do only from clues in the discourse of the single speaker. Number three, the main principle controlling the poet's choice and formulation of what the lyric speaker says is to reveal to the reader in a way that enhances its interest, the speaker's temperament and character. So, one of the most important influence on the development of the dramatic monologue is romantic poetry. However, the long personal lyrics typical of the romantic period are not dramatic monologues, in the sense that they do not, for the most part, imply a concentrated narrative. So poems such as William Wordsworth's Tintin Abbey, Percy Bysshe Shelley's Montbellic, to name few examples, offered a model of close psychological observation and philosophical or pseudo-philosophical inquiry described in a specific setting. The conversation poems of Samuel Taylor Coleridge are perhaps a better precedent. So the genre was also developed by Felicia Hemans and Elizabeth Landon, beginning in the with her long poem The Improvised Star. So such poems reveal the mind of the character whose personality is revealed unwittingly. This actually distinguishes a dramatic monologue from a lyric, while the implied presence of a listener distinguishes it from a soliloquy. It differs from aside, since a dramatic monologue, the other characters also hear what is uttered by the speaker. So, in Shakespeare's so many plays, you can find that he has used abundant use of aside, the literary device aside. So what is aside in actual sense? We can say aside is different to a dramatic monologue in the sense that in aside there are characters and there is a speaker or who addresses something, but in aside the audience or the listeners, they are not supposed to hear what the speaker is going to say or what the speaker is addressing. But in dramatic monologue, here there are characters who also hear what is uttered by the speaker. So in dramatic monologue, the other characters or the listeners, they are very much aware. They in fact exactly they know exactly what is uttered by the speaker here. And the examples of this form of poetry in English literature are Tennyson's Ulysses, Browning's My Last Essays, Browning's other poems as well, Fra Lippi, Andrea del Sarto, Rabbi Benizra, which is also prescribed in your syllabus, and T.S. Eliot's The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. So these are some of very well-known examples of this form of poetry, dramatic monologue. So here I hope you have understood this, and I'll also share the PDF for this particular topic. So thank you, students.